All right, well, we're going to get some stories and some reviews, and let's get this out of the way because you watch stuff, and let's get it out of the way. And
You watch stuff, so let's get it out of the way.
we can't do too much on Raw because I don't even remember if I watched anything past the first little bit, but then I usually end up remembering other things. How much did you watch?
Well, I went from start to finish, but it was not. There were many points where I was running at full speed, but again, they managed to take 3 hours to do the same thing that if they would just apply themselves, they could do in about an hour and 15 minutes, but they've got a 3-hour show to fill. And that's what makes it so tedious to go through. And I don't want to, I'll give you one statistic that illustrates my point, even though we're jumping ahead chronologically. The main event was the Judgment Day versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso for the tag team title. And the entrance of the Judgment Day started at 10:29 p.m. Do you know what time the bell rang to start the match?
No.
By the time that they had finished their entrance, and well, they went to a break in the entrance. They came back, and then more entrance, and then backstage stuff, and plugs, and 2 babyface entrances, and in-ring introductions. The start of the match, technically, the beginning of the first team's entrance, started at 10:29. The bell rang at 10:44. It took 15 full fucking minutes just to get the fucking match started. Vince McMahon would have lined us up against the wall like goddamn Bugs Moran and mowed us down if we'd have ever done that on Raw in the Attitude Era when people actually watched it in large numbers.
Well, how did it start? Was it a nice start for you?
Well,
did it start well and then become everything you hate?
You want me to tell you what the fuck we're talking about because you put it out of your mind like a goddamn PTSD survivor. Actually, no, it would have to be PTBD, right? Post-traumatic boring disorder. Is it like
I've been TKO'd by WWE?
Well, they're taking a little page out of the AEW playbook now because now we're talking about friendship over on Raw too. Because the open of the show on this is October 16th was Sami Zayn coming out and doing an in-ring promo, and he's he's conflicted, he's kind of down, he's very sad, he's all alone. Kevin Owens has gone to SmackDown. Oh, the humanity. But now Sammy gets to stand on his own 2 feet, and he can prove that he's, a contender. He could have been a contender, Brian. He's a world title level kind of guy. But Kevin Owens is no longer on Raw because Jey Uso came to Raw. And he's down about this because it took him and Kevin their entire lives to get there. And our tag team title reign was tainted by dealing with the Judgment Day. And now the Judgment Day have the title shot tonight. But I also want to thank the fans. I mean, gloom, despair, and agony, oh me, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. He lost his friend, and now he's friendless. And the Judgment Day's music plays. And they come out and laugh that he's all alone, and they talk in turn. Dominic gets booed. Rhea ends it up. And then they're going to beat the shit out of Sammy. And suddenly Jey Uso's music plays, and he comes in with 2 chairs and hands one to Sammy, and they're standing off the heels, and the heels say, well, fuck it. They leave. And that was 12 minutes. And then after the break...
Did you think someone else was going to run out there when it was just the 2 of them with the chairs?
Well, I was hoping...
Did you think Cody was going to run out there?
Again, I mean, do I want them to start the show the same way that they always start it, which is everybody running out and getting in a fight? Or do I want them to start it the way they did here, which is some people coming out, but nobody getting in a fight and everybody just walking off? I don't know. Is it the gas chamber or the electric chair? What about if goddamn they started a different way every once in a while? But that's the thing is that there's Dominic, there's Priest, there's Finn, and there's Rhea for that matter. And here's Jay and here's Sammy with 2 chairs. Well, goddamn, if they were that intent on beating people up, the 3 or 4 of them could go get 3 or 4 chairs. But they just left.
So what exactly happened? Nick Aldis signed Kevin Owens away from Raw, or he made a trade to get... How did he end up there that Sammy's so upset that he's there, he didn't even have an option to go with him? How did this transaction take place?
Well, wait. First, Cody brought Jey Uso to...
That's right.
Raw.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
He made that arrangement somehow, but it was never said, well, there's got to be a tit for the tat, as they say. But then later on, a week or 2 or later, however long later, well, if he came here, somebody's got to go there. Not really. When they did the trade, remember, they took people in groups of fucking 5 from one side to the other. It wasn't even in terms of numerical living, breathing bodies. But then they announced that afterwards and kind of slipped it in, so maybe people would think, oh, it was always supposed to be that way. So now they apparently just took this guy against his will away. They were the tag team champions, but we're going to break up that team. We're going to take this guy away from his partner against his will and put him over on the other TV show where he'll be on the network show that's seen by a bunch more people. No wonder Sammy's pissed.
That's something they should do. They should have like a Kurt Flood, a guy who refuses to trade. I'm not going there. I didn't sign a contract to go wrestle there. You can't treat me like this and just trade me wherever you want.
There you go.
But no, instead Kevin Owens is there, and now we got angry, emoting Sami Zayn, and more of him right now, right?
Well, he's going to emote some more emoting because they come back from the break and they're in the back, and Jay is trying to befriend him, and say, I'm with you, whatever the fine. Sammy's not sure. It should be Kevin. I'm thinking that the next thing he's going to say is Adam. But then as Jay walks off, Sammy thinks better of it. And he runs up, Jay, and he apologizes. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what I'm thinking. Remember when the goddamn baby faces in wrestling were heroes and knew exactly what they were fucking thinking and didn't take shit off people and tried to fight for the fans and the American way or whatever the fuck, instead of these neurotic, friendless little twits that we've got now that nobody would want to be like? Just a thought. But anyway, I wrote that this was AEW-like, although the performances were more professional. What'd you think? Do you remember now?
I wouldn't say it's AEW. I did watch this part. I wouldn't say it was AEW-like because it actually works. Because that's the big difference. When the fans are actually invested in it, it really works. And it's not completely over the top cheesy. You can't compare Sammy and...
This is being done seriously and the performances are good. It's kind of the same subject matter if it's the difference between a high school play of The Man Who Came to Dinner and the actual movie with Monty Woolley.
The ridiculous part of everything right here backstage, for instance, with Jey Uso and Sammy, is that there's a cameraman standing there literally running with him. And he's never referenced or looked at or acknowledged. They don't look into the camera, none of that. In AEW, like the Adam Cole, Roddy Strong stuff, there's a cameraman there seemingly for days on end, filming these nonstop childish exploits that are unentertaining and unfunny.
With slow motion face making.
Yeah, and then trying to turn it into The Hangover or something, and it's horrible. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. Even if you don't like the acting in wrestling, it's not a fair comparison.
All right, I'm suitably chastened, and I take it back. There was similarity in the subject matter, but a difference of professionalism in how it was handled on a variety of levels. How's that?
That's pretty good.
Well, there you go.
Have you thought about working in wrestling? That was pretty good, sir.
Well, I'm just trying to tell you, but speaking of something that wasn't pretty good. The first match on this marathon program was a Falls Count Anywhere match because now Ricochet and Shaky Nakamura are at each other's throats, and it's a blood feud, ladies and gentlemen, the likes of which we've never seen. The animosity has risen. There's a fucking great promo that fucking oh god damn it, who was it? One of Bruiser's guys. It was I think it might have been Ox Baker said, well, and Dick the Bruiser hit me over the head with a tire iron, and the animosity has grown since then. Yeah, I mean, that would kind of do it. But anyway, so of course it's a Falls Count Anywhere match, no disqualification, no count out of ring. So they jump-started it and immediately went to the floor. And within 2 minutes, they were fighting in the gorilla position, and Ricochet was parkouring off the referee to attack Shaggy Nakamura. And then they go back to the stage and they go to the break, and they come back, and as soon as they come back, Ricochet does was it a triple Lindy backflip out of the stands onto Shaky and 8 random security guards. And after that death-defying move, which was ridiculous in itself, Shaky took over for the Heat with a box of popcorn.
I don't think it was a triple Lindy, maybe a double Lindy, because I think a triple Lindy would need 3 different levels to jump one after another off.
I think it was a different level of stupidity.
That's true. I didn't think of it from that angle. You're right.
Again. And the fans are all around. As a matter of fact, I think he held on to one fat guy's hand so he could get up on the railing and turn around and do that or whatever the fuck. If that's not another balcony jump that I saw here recently. And somebody's going to get sued and somebody's going to get killed, and who gives a shit? It's ridiculous at this point. So then Shaky, back at the ring, pulls out a table, sets up the table, and then gets not 1 but 2 sets of foam nunchucks. And you can tell they're foam. If there was any doubt. And by the way, people have taken exception to the way that I pronounce nunchucks. And they apparently don't know how to pronounce and think that I'm pronouncing it wrong because they don't know how to pronounce the nunchucks, Brian. How do you pronounce nunchucks?
Well, I'm from the Northeast. I speak a little differently. Nunchucks.
Well, see, but here's the problem. The problem is if you're like...
We only had Kung Fu Theater on TV every weekend, but go ahead.
Well, no. Well, so my cousin Larry, I'll have you know, was a black belt in Taekwondo in 1972. But nevertheless, a lot of people say, well, them nunchucks. That's the shit kickers, them nunchucks or nunchucks.
Did you say numb?
Numb. A lot of people say nunchucks. He got him with the nunchucks. And other people say nunchucks. But the proper Christian name, well, actually, it's probably not Christian because it's from the Far East. But the proper name of the nunchucks is the nunchaku. So therefore, if you're doing it right, if you're going to give them a nickname, it's nunchucks.
They got to bring you back. You've done more in the last minute to sell me on Nakamura than they've done in 3 years. You got to manage Nakamura.
Oh, well, let me.
You could be his Gary Hart. You could be the Gary Hart that Nakamura is Nakamura.
Well, let me. Nakamura needs something because here's what they did with the foam nunchucks. He takes them and he does the routine with them under the arm and et cetera, and you can kind of tell right there that those aren't solid. But nevertheless, then he hits Ricochet several times with them. And again, if you hit somebody like that, even on the legs with real nunchucks, you're going to be able to tell. But then, did you see what he did with them after he had finished hitting Ricochet?
No, this was one of those, I'll see what's on the other channel.
Okay, matches. Well, I had to see, because this just had all the makings of chaos. He's got one in each hand, and he's whipping them around, hitting Ricochet, and then he just flung them behind him. I mean, way behind him. And their foam, they took off like a rocket. And you could hear the crowd ooh because they were heading over the rail toward the front row. And they went off camera. But you can tell, as you saw one of the security guys sitting with his back to the ring, saw something fly by and turn to the right. But the fucking fake nunchucks, he threw into the fucking front row. A, people then know that they're fake, but B, if you saw what you even potentially believed was a real pair of nunchucks running at you or flying at you at a high rate of speed, you would duck or dodge or whatever. Somebody could have got fucking hurt, run over. He just threw him a fucking way.
Well, if you thought the styrofoam head shears from Brutus the Barber Beefcake were a big mover for kids, wait until you have the Nerf nunchucks.
The Nerf nunchucks.
Nakamura.
Now available at WWE Shop.
The way Leapin' Lanny used to throw his frisbees out into the crowd, Nakamura could just fling nunchucks.
Just take a big bag and just start sidearming them, and people would be ducking. What the fuck? No, and remember, I've told you the Bruise Brothers hockey puck story, right?
I don't know this one, no.
We're in Johnson City, Tennessee at Freedom Hall. It's the Heavenly Bodies, Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey against Ron and Don Harris, the Bruise Brothers. The Bruises have switched babyface. They've broken away from my camp, and now they're having the big angle with the Bodies, and we have a street fight match. And I worked out a spot with Tom and Jimmy, and it actually didn't need the involvement of the Bruise Brothers, but as I found out later on, we got it. But one of the gimmicks that I had that I handed into the Heavenly Bodies when they're trying to get some heat on the Bruise Brothers was a slapjack, which was made from a men's dress sock. Like you can see this in the gangster movies, right? Or whatever, the men's dress sock, black dress sock. And my gimmick one has some cardboard and a little bit of toilet paper padding and some change in it to give it a little bit of sound and oomph when you hit somebody with it, but it ain't going to hurt anybody unless you fucking put their eye out with it or whatever.
Use a silver dollar. Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. And so anyways, I've crafted these things from long years of doing this in the locker room with the materials that I had on hand. So when they get the heat, they grab the slapjack and they hit the fucking Bruise Brothers over the head with it. Of course, they're selling it. They don't have to be hit with a real one to sell it. And then the Bodies throw it back to me, and I put it back in my jacket. Well, now later on, I'd worked out with Tom. Let's do this. I had a real hockey puck because they'd been playing hockey in the building. And I put it in another sock where it looked almost exactly like that, right? You couldn't tell if they weren't side by side. You couldn't tell. And what I was going to do was throw it back to Tom and him miss it, overthrow it where it go out to where it would land and skid out into the seats where somebody would pick it up and say, my God, they were hitting those motherfuckers with real hockey puck, right? And I'd done this with the Midnight Express a couple times. But this was, and then Tom would miss the thing, and that would allow the Bruise Brothers to get an opening to start making a comeback and peck him in the, punch him in the face or whatever. But goddamn, I think it was Don Harris, when he saw Tom miss the gimmick, he panicked and thought, my God, the fake gimmick is going out into the crowd and it'll be exposed. And he rolled out and grabbed the fucking thing away from the fans and came back in the ring thinking he was going to use it to make the comeback. And the fucking Bodies were running and diving. No, they were screaming, no, don't hit me for real. And he was so fired up, he didn't notice the difference in weight. And he's swinging and he's running after him out on the floor. And they had to say, no, goddamn it. They stopped him for real to get the goddamn gimmick away from him. But anyway, nevertheless. So.
I didn't know how much I was going to enjoy this Raw review until it started.
As long as we don't have to talk about the actual show. Ricochet leaped off the top rope through a table. Basically on his own, he was climbing the top rope, but Shaky kicked him, and he kind of sold the kick and then looked to see where the table was and then leaped off and went through the table, and Shaky pinned him down there because it was false count anywhere. And that was the end of that. And then Multiple girls argued in the back, which led to Piper Niven taking on Natalya in a scintillating single contest. What was Piper's name before? Kumquat or Dewdrop?
Dewdrop.
Apparently, Vince wanted her to be a Dewdrop, and Triple H wants her to be Piper.
That'd be a good book, like the last 5 years of Vince's ideas. You know, Dewdrop, Max Dupree, Golden Egg. Just like all these awful ideas that got
At least he wasn't Max Dewdrop.
I guess so.
You think it was kind of like he didn't want another Piper in the WWF, like he didn't want another Shane because of Shane McMahon or another Shawn because of Shawn Michaels. You know, that is smarter than having 18 cages and 14 pages in the same company.
But there has to be room in between. I always thought Vince took it too far. Like there couldn't be a second guy on the roster with the name Shane or something. But also, AEW, like everyone's either an Adam or a Cage or a Page. Everyone has the same name over there.
Well, and you know, not a lot of people are going to mistake Piper Niven for Roddy Piper, I don't think, at this point.
No.
They're probably not going to make that. It's not going to be product confusion. Speaking of product confusion, so we're in the back with the Judgment Day, and Damian Priest is telling everybody that they need to take out Drew. But then Rhea walks in and says Drew is handled. And this is one of those where they give them... somebody's there trying to write movie scenes. I'm sure probably most of the people there are trying to write movie scenes. And Rhea comes out the best because she's a little bit more natural at it. But I wrote this interaction is so scripted. They each have to go back. They're writing fucking television and movie scenes instead of goddamn letting the wrestling talent discuss things in a manner in which they would. And I hate it for when the top talent still has to do this fucking hokey shit.
Is this the ultimate fruition of Dusty Rhodes saying he's going to make motion pictures and sitcoms? Is this what that looks like on wrestling?
Unfortunately, maybe now we know why he never got to making them. Maybe he had a premonition that might be what when he started thinking about, are these wrestlers actors or should they be? Maybe he realized, you know.
Other than the classic learning the ropes.
Yeah. Yeah, they shot that in Toronto. I declined one time, I think, or just didn't answer the phone or something. They got Stan to go up there and do one show for whatever reason. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that aired on Channel 5 in New York after WWF Wrestling on the weekend. And it was weird in the summer of '89 when it aired. You'd watch Tully and Arn on the show with Bobby Heenan, and next thing you know, they're on a sitcom right after wrestling.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, they shot the television program, the sitcom part in Toronto, but they would just take dark match footage from Crockett Promotions TV tapings, and sometimes they would do a different introduction, like, you know, I can't remember what Lyle Alzado's masked man name was. Was he the masked gimmick or whatever the fuck? They would do a different introduction than they'd done in the building or whatever, but or they would just have Stan went out one time and had a singles match against, I think it was George South or Gary Royal under a mask, just so they could splice that in, that he'd had a singles match and he was sitting there in the locker room by himself when in walked whoever the fuck walked in.
Lyle Alzado.
That was a not very fucking funny situation comedy.
It wasn't about the comedy. It was about seeing your favorite wrestlers on some weird sitcom after wrestling.
Well, maybe because you were 10 or whatever.
9. I was 9. It was a big deal.
Well, and then apparently you were the audience it was aimed at because nobody else liked that fucking program, and it was a fucking, oh God, it was rotten.
No, and when I was 9, we had that and roller games, and the next year American Gladiators rolled in.
They rolled in?
They rolled in right after Superstars of Wrestling.
Rolled in right after roller games?
Rock and roller games.
Rock and roller games.
Did you like rock and roller games? Did you give it a chance because it was roller derby or a version of roller derby?
No, I gave up on any resurrection of roller derby after they had roller jam on the Nashville network with the piranhas in the goddamn the pool over the figure 8 track and all that shit. I said, well, they've gimmicked that up too to the point where you can't believe it.
That's every roller derby revival. Oh my God, they're going to try. Yeah. Maybe this will be. It's like wrestling. Maybe this will be something. Nope. They're just going down that same road that killed them the first time.
But speaking of the same road that killed him the first time, Seth Franklin Rollins came to the ring on Raw wearing what I can only describe as a negligee direct from Dressing for Pleasure in Montclair, New Jersey. They didn't even get they didn't charge for that plug, but I just thought, that's the only place you find something possibly this erotic or exotic for a fucking guy that's 6'3" and 230 pounds or whatever.
In Montclair.
Over here in Montclair. Have you ever been over to Montclair?
I've been to Montclair. Very nice area.
Have you been to Dressing for Pleasure?
I am not familiar with this venue, no.
Boy, they can sell all kinds of things over there. So then I wasn't going to listen to this, but then Drew McIntyre came out. And I started listening, and he was good, but then Seth started speaking, and I immediately didn't care anymore. And I said, well, fuck this segment. And basically, whatever they said, it took them 10 minutes to say it. But the point is that Drew is not happy with the way that people are forgiving Jey Uso, and Drew believes that he should be more prominently featured, and Drew feels he's been ill-used by not having the championship belt that Seth has, and he's just you and me against the world, but fuck the you, it's just me. That's what Drew McIntyre is feeling like these days.
Well, he hit Rollins with a few of the things that we've said, specifically that I've said. Here's a guy that couldn't get over with his previous gimmicks. They were just annoying and over the top, and it was like a guy trying to figure out a gimmick as opposed to anything that feels real. This one, people like singing the music, that's for sure. But the gimmick's terrible, and it's completely synthetic. It's completely fake. And he said it right to his face on Raw.
Well, goddamn, maybe that means that they've realized that everything that he said was true, and they're going to let Seth drop this whole pirouetting Jack Nicholson Joker fucking whatever the fuck's going on?
No, they're going to ride this a while longer, I think. But it's a sign that Drew is fed up, and he's going to turn heel by telling the truth. To all the baby face.
God damn, that no good son of a bitch. All he does is tell the truth. We can't handle that shit.
The most hated wrestler here. Yeah, the most hated wrestler in the promotion, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Honest John.
And his catchphrase is, I cannot tell a lie. Followed by, you suck. And here's why.
Well, we're talking about Raw, and there's so much more to talk about with Raw.
There's certainly not, but we're going to talk about it anyway. They did a nice little package on Bronson Reed. Did you see that?
It was all right. They've done too many of these to me in the last year for him, and then used them in a shitty way for me to pay too close attention anymore.
Well, that's the thing. History is repeating itself over it, but now he's still a polite, well-spoken monster. It is not any Vader in him or any fucking Crusher Blackwell or any Bam Bam Bigelow or whatever. But they were calling him Mr. Nice Guy, remember? And now they've changed that to the incredible, groundbreaking nickname of Big Bronson Reed.
Yeah, the Mr. Nice Guy stuff was just a few months ago. Like I said,
it sucked. It sucked.
It's another round of vignettes. In the past, like even the shitty wrestlers or the shitty gimmicks, like Skinner was in the swamp until he got there. And then you never saw any more vignettes with him in the swamp ever again. Bronson Reed had vignettes, a debut, vignettes, another, brought it back again, vignettes, and he keeps losing. So
another nickname.
Another nickname. Big Bronson Reed.
And by the way, Bronson, Big Bill Dromo would like to have a word with you.
What about Big Bill?
Well, I think obviously they're trying to do long-term storytelling. Whenever WWE ends up buying AEW in bankruptcy court or whatever happens, that'll be like the Lawler Savage. They'll have been promoting it for 5 years. Big Bill versus Big Bronson Reed for the title of Big.
Could wrestling ever have another Hacksaw with people too closely associated with Jim Duggan?
Well, but
because we had three within a year in 1983, and then we never had another one ever again.
Well, but what about if Hacksaw Duggan gave the new Hacksaw the official blessing and a souvenir 2x4? Then that might work. Also, by the way, we talked about this on SmackDown. They're doing it on Raw. AEW is buying television commercials for their November 1 Louisville debacle. This is shaping up. They're buying commercial spots on Raw. Not only that, but they sent Big Show, Paul White, down to OVW to announce on OVW television. It's the first time he'd appeared in OVW. They built it in 15 years or whatever it'd been.
Since OVW was OVW.
Since OVW was OVW. And he did a live interview on OVW TV offering, I think it was 2-for-1 tickets. So they're like $10 a piece. And he was just on the WDRB morning news again, plugging the event because apparently I misspoke on the last program we did when we were talking about it. I said they'd only sold 3,000 something tickets. Apparently they have not yet sold 3,000 tickets, or at least as of a couple days ago when this publicity onslaught from the former Big Show began. But it's a 20,000+ seat building. I don't know what they're gonna.
I feel bad for anyone that was at OVW that was excited to see the Big Show, and he gets in the ring like, oh my God, what's he gonna do? I'm here to announce a wonderful deal on tickets.
Yeah.
Buy one, get one, bring everyone down. You know, Jim, AEW coming to Louisville is going to be a hard decision for you. Do you go down and have a good time, hating everything you see, or do you stay at home and sit in a really comfortable chair and enjoy your night and your life, choosing between sitting and watching and sleeping in the Kurt Hennig of sleep chairs, the perfect sleep chair?
Well, before it would have been a tough decision, but now it's a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer. It's how in the world is this even a thing that I need to think about? Because you never want to get out of the perfect sleep chair, because not only is the perfect sleep chair the perfect chair to sleep in. I said that a bunch more times than I needed to, but it's not only the perfect chair to sleep in, but also it's the perfect chair to sit in or to actually stand up in. This fucking thing, it will make you do a triple Lindy off the roof if you want it to. It goes everywhere. It is adjustable in more positions than Miro's hot and flexible wife, for heaven's sake. And it not only adjusts the footrest and the back and the seat in a variety, an infinite number of combinations, more combinations than they have over at Mickey D's on the Have It Your Way menu, but also it vibrates and it heats up. So let's say, for example,
much like Miro's hot and flexible wife.
Much like Miro's hot and flexible wife. It's flexible and hot. But it's not married to anybody, and you can get in it without any conversation whatsoever. You can be right in this thing. You don't even have to talk to it. You don't even have to be nice to it, ladies and gentlemen. You can get in on this thing. It's right there for you. Because the perfect sleep chair does not skimp on quality. It's available in several fabrics, including genuine leather for the stylish look. And we mentioned the incredible positions that you can get into. And if someone can join you in this chair, because I didn't see any kind of weight limit on it. I mean, if you're the fat man at the circus, chances are that you might have a problem. But if you're a couple of normal human beings and not some corpulent,
well, let's not
overfed, cottage cheese-ridden individuals, the two people could get in this chair in a variety of positions that they could be then boosted and vibrated about.
Listen, unless there's a problem that in general in regular everyday life requires a forklift, you should be able to get in and out of this chair. People of all sizes, all shapes. Yeah. It is a wonderful, comfortable chair. And in fact, Jim, you brought up the various options. Last night I found out it goes back even further than the preset sleep button. And
Well, you
it's a
didn't
wonderful
know
thing
that?
to know.
You didn't know it'll almost turn you upside down if you wanted to.
I learned that last night, actually.
There you go. And then have you hit the eject button yet? Make sure the skylight is open.
There is no eject button. You won't have to worry about that. You will have to worry about pressing buttons to control the heat, the massage, and of course, the angle and slope, which you will be sitting
The
and
angle,
laying.
the slope, the pitch, the slant. We could go on. This thing, it's like a roller coaster of emotions all in one recliner. An
That's right.
infinite number of positions. And it'll boost you right up. The spring-loaded mechanism that will boost you right up to your feet and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, a couch has never been able to do these type of things. Certainly a fold-up lawn chair or one of those Dirondack models could never do these kind of things. You can only get this from the folks that manufacture the perfect sleep chair, which is, you need go no further than the website shopjourney.com. That's who's responsible for this thing. They've sold more than 100,000 perfect sleep chairs over at Journey Health and Lifestyle, and they deliver the chair directly to you. So you don't have to worry about throwing it on your back or having your wife carry it and lugging it home from the store. It's coming right to your door, and then you just point and they will put it wherever it needs to be. There is some surcharge if you want to put it in a tree or potentially up on the roof. Up on the roof.
I'm pretty sure the delivery will not be supplying anyone with anything on the roof or in a tree.
Well, you know, when this
right in the front door, or maybe even your garage or the back door, depending on how big these doors are. But they will get this
live
chair
in your mind.
house.
Maybe you have a house with no doors, but when this old world starts getting you down and things are just too rough for you to bear, you go way up on the top of the roof and you sit in your perfect sleep chair. See?
That's right.
So you might want to be on the roof, and you're going to have to pay these people to put this thing on the roof if you want it.
It'll be a metaphorical roof in your little brill building in your mind there, but no, they will not be putting anything on your roof.
Well, that's what I said. You're going to have to pay them extra.
No, there's no payment required for the shipping.
No, they're going to charge extra to put it on the roof. They only bring it to your house for free.
No one's putting
you're not understanding what I'm saying, but
I'm understanding.
Again, if you live in a home with no doors, then you're going to have to figure your own shit out.
Maybe you should be in a home.
Well, and that's where we're trying to put this chair. Wide variety of color choices, fits any decor. If you're looking for the best TV watching chair, the best chair to watch wrestling in, the best chair to binge watch Netflix, or the best chair to, like I do, fire up the old VCR and plunk in a good vintage VHS tape, right now head to shopjourney.com/JCE and use the promo code JCE at checkout for $125 off your order. And that is, again, I think that's one of the largest discounts that we have ever provided to the needy listeners of our program out there who might be shivering in an unheated chair this winter, who might be laying in an immobile chair that doesn't vibrate or doesn't back up or turn you upside down or jump down, turn around, or pick a bale of cotton. You can get $125 off a chair that'll do everything for you. And boy, wait till you find that special gripping attachment. Shopjourney.com.
For chairs, not fantasy attachments that are only on sale in Montclair.
Well, that's why you got to go to Montclair, New Jersey to get the gripping attachment. You never have to leave this chair. Shopjourney.com/JCE and use the promo code JCE at checkout for $125 off your order of the perfect sleep chair.
Any and all attachments mentioned by Jim Cornette are not real.
Are fun.
They are made up in the head of Jim Cornette. They are unsanctioned. They are not officially a part of the wonderful perfect sleep chair, which you can get today. What's the promo code, Jim?
That is shopjourney.com/JCE, the promo code JCE.
Well, Jim, one of the great things about the perfect sleep chair is you could watch Raw in it, you could relax, you could possibly fall asleep, and Before anyone falls asleep, how much more Raw was there here?
I was about to say you could possibly fall asleep watching Raw to begin with, but I wonder, oh, but oh, ho, how much is there to go? Well, Kaiser Wilhelm wrestled Johnny Sameface. Drew had a confrontation with Sammy. Go ahead.
Can I ask you about Sameface?
Oh, please don't, but go ahead.
If they are going to use him because he's a favorite of Shawn Michaels and Triple H, is the best way to use him in a tag team with Ciampa? If they're going to use it, if they're not going to just
selfishly, because then I wouldn't want to watch Tommaso's matches because they would involve Sameface. But if they're going to, he needs to be with somebody. Because look at that fucking moop face and that. There he is. He's a fucking middle schooler, and
he would have been a good masked wrestler.
No, he wouldn't have.
In the cruiserweight division.
No, he wouldn't have. Because he's still boring as fuck. He just does moves. And he and both his comedy wife are also unbearable on the vignettes. Remember, we were in their home weekly on NXT a few years ago.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're seeing the stuff with Roddy Strong and thinking, maybe that's a place we can go and get out our creative ideas.
And I wish he would. It would help everybody out because I could skip him as easily as I skip him here or there, and it would help the WWE product. And it can't make AEW any worse because I think they've hit that fucking. Can you be worse than that? Well, don't dare anybody.
Robert
right?
Fuller and Jerry Jarrett. It could get worse.
It can get worse. All right. But nevertheless, Drew is indeed not happy with Sammy because he's forgiven Jey Uso so easily. And Sammy says that, the thing, he's worked hard and this guy's, believing him and that guy's believing him. Drew, you're the only one that's not believing Jey. And Drew said, well, that's easy for you to say because you'll never be a world champion, trusting everybody, but, you're not capable of doing that anyway. And Sammy, says, you can find out whether I'm at world champion level next week if you want. So now apparently next week we're going to get Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre, which at least we haven't seen before to my knowledge. I don't know whether we want to see it again after we see it, but it's interesting.
They've done enough in a week to make me slightly interested in Drew for the first time in a while. Maybe he's right. Imagine if this is all to set up Jey. The plan was for the Bloodline to send Jey off to Vince. Remember the rumor that Vince McMahon sent Vince Russo to WCW on purpose? Kill them. Do all your ideas. Kill them.
Well, no, he did. He did probably encourage all those ideas from afar, but yeah.
What if it's that? If it's Jey Uso turning on Cody, turning on Sammy in effect, because you're proving Sammy to be a idiot for accepting him, just like Drew's saying. And boy, there's a way to really heat up the Bloodline stuff.
Or Drew's just picky. But I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
So Rhea came out for her match, but she got to do a little in-ring promo, Monday Night Mommy. And it was brief, but it's, again, to the point with her, and she does a great heel promo because she not only delivers the message well, but she's got attitude. And she's talking about Nia Jax and Raquel and Shayna, but it's her division, and she's always going to be on top. Mommy's always going to be on top. And then Rhea wrestled Shayna Baszler.
And for real, she should be. For the next decade, she should be the biggest star in women's wrestling.
And did you watch this? Because I figured, okay, Rhea and Shayna Baszler, I'm going to watch this.
I watched a little bit of it, yeah.
And
they don't make it easy to watch the matches. I mean, they do enough to drive you away when the commercial hits.
Well, yes, because they haven't done enough to hook you by the time the commercial hits. But it was good wrestling. They're aggressive. Shayna is good with somebody that can work because she's a real athlete and got the background. But Rhea Ripley's selling is incredible. And even though she's in the heel group, the people like her when she's on her own, and she can get away with being in the babyface position at some point in the match without fucking anything up. And right as she hit the one-armed power bomb on Shayna, just suddenly here came Nia Frigidaire coming out. And before she could get in the ring, Raquel jumped on her, and here came Zoe. And I tried to keep track of this. Raquel threw Zoe in the ring, but the referee didn't do anything until Zoe actually kicked Rhea, and then he called for the DQ. And then Rhea threw Zoe onto Shayna, and then it was kind of flat as a plate full of piss right there as far as a finish to a good match. But then Rhea and Zoe beat up Nia. But when Rhea picked up Nia for the slam, then Zoe kicked them both over. And then everybody kind of rolled out. Good match, rotten finish.
Great commentary. I felt like I was there.
Well, I tried to keep it accurate as much as possible and hit the high spots.
What'd you think, no Michael Cole?
Well, it was announced he had the week off for some purpose, personal reasons. Had possibly a meeting with his parole officer, I'm not sure. But it was not like he just didn't show up or whatever, is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Yes. Well, don't
season premiere, no Michael Cole. That's what I'm saying.
Don't try to stir up trouble where there is none. The man had asked off probably for, months ahead of time for only the third time he's missed a show in 25 years just so he can go to his grandchildren's in vitro fertilization party. And you've got to cast aspersions at him.
I'm sorry.
All righty. You want to get to the good match? There's always one.
Yeah.
The Intercontinental title was on the line with Gunther against Big Bronson Reed. And this, again, Gunther's brilliant because he works completely differently against big guys and small guys. Whereas with the small guys, he's going to milk the chop. He's going to wait for the people to make the people wait to finally hear it land. And he's only going to use a few because it's a little guy. But with this big 400-pound fuck, they started right at the bell, the chops, the tackles, the kicks, because he's got to fight more now, Gunther does, to get a guy of this size down. And Bronson Reed, to me, he does great stuff, but when he's just doing stuff nonstop without a change of the pace, that's kind of been his thing where he'll try to do too much shit. And I like that Gunther slowed it down a little bit with the sleeper, but then obviously would put Bronson Reed's power over. And to the point where he took a backdrop on the apron, Gunther did. But with a guy that wide, you've got a pretty good base. But anyway, then by the time they got deeper into the match with the 2 counts, it was big moves. Bronson Reed hit a Death Valley driver, got a 2 count. Gunther with a clothesline, got a 2 count. And then finally, when Bronson Reed hit that big superplex off the top rope, it got a 2 count, but got a big pop, because people were starting to buy this. This might be it. And then Reed misses the splash off the top. Gunther hits the drop kick, the clothesline, splash off the top, 2 count. Holy shit. And then he had to spin him into and pick him up for and give him a power bomb. And one power bomb on a guy the size of Bronson Reed, it makes sense that's it, because you just picked up 400 pounds and dropped him on his fucking head. 1, 2, 3. It was a great finish that built. The people it was back and forth enough that they were on the roller coaster. They created enough doubt that people started popping on Bronson Reed's false finishes. And then it took Gunther more than it takes him for the average opponent for him to put the guy away. But still, it wasn't a ridiculous 5 power bombs on a 400-pound guy. It wasn't stupid. So this I actually liked in the middle of this dreary New Orleans funeral march.
Another good Gunther match. What is it, a month and a half straight? Good Gunther match or good Gunther segment in the middle of the show.
Good Gunther. That's what we ought to start saying every time we see a good match. Good Gunther.
Is he your favorite wrestler today?
With Ripley, Breaker, Gunther, and a couple of others, probably. Yeah, but he's in top 5, certainly.
All right.
Anyway,
there's some news. Some of the people in Jim's top 5 favorite wrestlers today.
Well, how can you not? Because they're the best or are going to be the best in the business at what they're doing or are going to be doing.
If you include AEW, who are your favorite wrestlers today?
Well, I mean, besides, honestly, in AEW right now, besides FTR in tag team matches with the right opponents and not, some of their clowns, and MJF, for his verbal ability and his potential, he so seldom has a match these days. They're always good, but they're rare. And his presentation now handicaps him from being as entertaining as he used to be. Besides that, is there anybody in AEW that's currently on my favorites list?
So it was Rhea Ripley, Gunther, Braun Breaker. Who am I forgetting?
FTR and MJF,
FTR,
I just mentioned.
MJF. No Cody Rhodes?
Well, you asked about AEW.
I said altogether your favorite wrestlers.
Oh, well, I was going over to the other side of the fence for that. Cody's doing a great job, but I'm not surprised. Some of these people, I'm like, wow. I'm really surprised they're that good. With Cody, I'm not really surprised, but I enjoy watching him unless it's, typical average television match that we might skip every so often.
Would you say Charlotte is one of your favorites?
Charlotte would have to, well, you can't have it's the old fucking cliche. You can't have one midget. You've got to have another girl. And
that old cliche. Yeah.
That old cliche. Well, it happens sometimes. So you got to, and Charlotte's the best of the rest of the female division in any company, is she not? So
someone like Juice Robinson, you wouldn't put him on that list yet, but he's someone you've enjoyed most of his work so far?
I like watching him, but I like watching Juice, and I like hearing him talk when he gets to, but I'm not advocating that he be the next face of the company at this point.
And then someone like Jay Lethal, who would have been on this list if I had asked you a few years ago, it's just where he's been, how he's been used, where he's been used, on what shows he's been used, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are all the answers to all those questions? You see him in a group every once in a while. When he wrestles, he gets beat. And otherwise, he's just there for one of the Stooges to dive on him so he can catch him. So,
is Austin Theory on your list?
A Theory would be on the list. But at the same time, I'm a bigger fan of Gunther than I am of Theory. Because Theory is still young and he's going to get better. Gunther's had a lot of experience. He's still getting better. He's improved his physique, but Gunther's pretty perfect. Theory's still got development to do as he gets older.
So, to my original question, is Gunther your very favorite today?
Okay, I guess, yeah, he is. Then you beat it out of me. Gunther's my guy.
I rest my case.
Good Gunther.
All right.
Well, this is your show.
Well, was that the end of Raw?
No.
Yeah. Well, let's end this Raw. Was there much more Raw?
Not much.
Good Gunther.
Miz was in the back, and he did a Miz promo, and he must have known what was going to come because he was really animated and lively. And then Nia Jax walked in and just grabbed the microphone and turned to face the camera and spoke like if you did an AI recording, but with less emotion and less natural flow. It was like they put Sable's brain in a sperm whale.
Or if you went to AI and you said, give me a promo from The Rock's cousin who has no talent but has a job because she's The Rock's cousin.
That was about what that was.
Yeah.
And then Rhea was mad at Pierce for letting other people interrupt her matches. So to solve this problem, Pierce said that she could defend the title in a fatal 5-way at Crown Jewel against all these other girls. So now...
Yeah, that helped the problem.
Yeah, we can't... well, not only did it help the problem, but now we can't look forward to Rhea's big match or big show match because it's going to be a 5-way and they all suck no matter who's in them. And then model girl Gable and Otis were doing exercises and the New Day came in and danced and sang. I ain't making that up. And then we get to the main event of Raw. The tag team title match with Judgment Day against Jay and Cody. And as I mentioned at the top of this dissertation, the Judgment Day entrance started at 10:29 p.m. Eastern Time, and the bell rang for the match at 10:44. So they had 15 minutes in between the start and the finish of that, and they only had 15 minutes left on the air, and there was one break or two breaks in that time. I think there was one break. But nevertheless, Cody, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, is one of my favorites to watch because he and Finn, too, if they're working, they're smooth as silk, right? Which Jay is not exactly smooth as silk, and Priest is, we're a fan of Priest, but you wouldn't say he's smooth as silk yet. But Cody and Finn are smooth as silk. But then I was like, what the fuck? Are they double parked? They're rushing. They stopped Jay within seconds. They started a little heat and got 30 seconds to that and tagged Cody in to make a comeback. And I'm like, my God, have they gotten word that, they're running behind or whatever the fuck? But they were just wanting to, they had 4 minutes before they were going to go to the break after all of that preamble to get this thing started. So they wanted to get a comeback going and Cody get a 2 count. And then they got into a 4-way and Cody hit the crossroads on Priest. And that was what brought Dominic out to put Priest's leg on the ropes and break it up. And then Cody could chase Dom around until Finn could stop him. And they had a little break spot there. But at one point I was like, this is going to be a world record short fucking match. And then when they came back, they really, even though that most of the WWE TV matches and pay-per-view matches look so similar because they're all done the same, follow the same patterns, involve the same people, or lit the same way, shot the same way, every once in a while you get some people that just know how to build up a fucking finish. And I think probably Cody was instrumental in this, at least being the general in the ring. But after they got cooking and started going, they had all kinds of shit going on. And the people were up and down. Cody and Jay finally did the flapjack and cutter double team for a 2 count. And then Cody went and dove on Priest outside, but Priest caught him in a goozle and choke slammed him on the apron and cleared the desk off. But Jay went to the top. And at that point, Priest and Dominic got at cross purposes because they both went to Jay, and Dominic was supposed to. But when he saw Priest go to Jay, he jumped down, and then Priest had to sell something that Jay didn't throw when he realized to get away from him. And then Dom got back up and pulled Jay's leg. But then Jay kicked him off and hit the splash, or did the splash, but Finn raised his knees, got a 2 count. Here came Sammy out, and he's beating up Dominic, and Priest posts Sammy, and Cody throws Priest over the rail, and Finn stops Cody, and Priest kicks Cody in the balls and gives him a razor's edge through the desk, while Jay dives on Priest, but Finn stops Jay, and the drop kick and the double stomp, but it misses, and Jay hits a spear, and then spears Priest, and then Jimmy Uso appears out of nowhere and super kicks Jay, and Finn hits the stomp. 1, 2, 3. New champions. After what, 2 or 3 weeks? That's how long they had it. But nobody expected it. And they got a little fucking babyface run out of it to make themselves seem legitimate. What'd you think?
I think it was all right, but it's hard for me to get into this because I've seen a combination of all these guys in a tag match to end this show every week, seemingly for the last 17 years. No, it seems like it's either a three-way or a tag match or a singles match that has multiple people at ringside. And I get it, they're the stars of the show, the Judgment Day and the baby faces, but something has to happen other than just another match to... A potential title change isn't enough to make me interested.
Well, I'll tell you, of all the matches that I've seen between these people, this was certainly the most recent.
All right, well, that was Raw. And boy, was it. And we're going to move on here with the show for everyone's benefit.